Happy Unit 9, Lesson 5. That did not come out well, but hey-oh, it's Ms. Billman. I'm really trying to use that white marker, and this is really the only way that I can. So, looking at this homework, we're going to be really focusing on a number line that we have to the right, and we're really taking note that from origin of 0 to 1, it's really not super straightforward that there's only one dash, right? So when looking at the place value, the number that they're doing between all those dashes to 1, those are tenths. So from 0 or origin to 1, it's cut or divided into 10 different pieces. So this number line shows tenths within the distance between the two numbers, 0 and 1. We'll go ahead and label them. For number 2, I do suggest selecting, do you want to use decimals or would you like to use fractions first? I know in number 3 it also says fractions, and we'll talk about that. So this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then to 1. So those are tenths. I could also label these 0.10, 0.20, 0.30, 0. And so on and so forth. But there are 10 spaces from origin of 0 to 1. So hooray, proud of us, we did that. This is also a really good plug for have awesome handwriting when you're doing this. I swear I typically have great handwriting, but putting it on an iPad, things kind of get wild. So we're going below origin to -1. So this is negative 0.1, negative 0.2, negative 0.3. I could also label these the same way of negative 0.1, negative 0.2, negative 0.3, negative 0.4, all the way down to -1. 1 and -1, so positive 1 and -1, those are opposites, so they have the same amount of numbers, the distance from origin, so we're just seeing it reflected. Now, if we're writing these as fractions, we have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, all the way up to 1/1 or 10/10. Those are equal to 1, so 1. This also says to write it in the simplest form. So I'm looking at 2/10. The simplest form is not 2/10 for that, but it would be 1/5. 5/10, the simplest form would be 1/2. 4/10 would be 2/5. 6/10 would be, you guessed it, 3/5. 8/10 would be 4/5. So I'm going through and labeling that. The beauty of being able to do it on my iPad is that I can very quickly switch between colors. You might not be able to do that if you just have like a single pencil, but that's totally okay because we have enough room to write on. I'm also really working through my entire thought process to show you how this kind of ends up in my head, right? I just don't like pop in a correct answer. I kind of show you how I get there. So zooming into the negatives, this is going to be the same reflected, that -1/10 or -1/10. For what would be -2/10, I put -1/5, which the opposite is 1/5, and that's reflected above. I go all the way down to -1 or -10/10, or I can even say -1/1, because that all is equivalent to 1. This is a whole lot of writing, but we're also going to use this to be able to do 4 through 7 because we need to label. So number 4 says draw a point at 0.2 and label a W. So I could be telling myself, oh, I already know that's going to be positive, yes. But I also know that would be 2/10. It's 2 spaces above. Number 5, -7/10. We're going to draw a point and label it Z. I know I'm going to be below, and I find my 7/10. It's negative, and I label it Z. Number 6, 4/5. Label it Y. That's going to be above. 4/5 is going to be 0.8 or 8/10. I label it Y, and I move on to number 7, which says negative 0.9 or 9/10. I label it X. It's there in orange. So, number 8. On a number line, the rational number negative 9/4 is located to the left of 0. Obvious because it's negative. The rational number 2 1/4 is located to the right of 0. Are the numbers opposite rational numbers? Explain. So, here's the cool part about math. We can take one thing that we know, we can build on it, we could take separate ideas, bring them together, and sometimes that means that you'll see it in a performance task. In this case, it's just question 8 on the homework. This is really cool because we're talking about positive and negative numbers and also fractions. So negative 9/4, that is equivalent to negative 2 1/4. It's just written as an improper fraction. Then we had the rational number 2 1/4. Are they opposites? Yes, they are. They're both the same distance from 0, just on opposite sides. But this question is tricky because they're giving you negative 9/4. Well, and that's not a different number, though. It's equivalent to negative 2 1/4. Again, they both are equivalent in their distance from 0. They just happen to be on opposite sides of the origin. So now we're writing the opposite rational number. 1/3 is the opposite of negative 1/3. Negative 5/6 is the opposite of 5/6. 7/16 is the opposite of negative 7/16. And the opposite of 3/10 is negative 3/10. When I have two negatives, it becomes a positive. So to simplify this, it is 1/3. This is now negative 0.75. Number 15, it becomes a positive 0.5. And number 16, negative 4/5. And you see this a lot when you zoom into algebra. All right, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you were here.